Brains versus bronze, a seemingly timeless debate that we still find ourselves asking. However, in Big Klaus and Little Klaus by Hans Christian Andersen, we learn just how much brain truly does triumph. The story is intended for a slightly more mature audience. A long time ago, in a German village, there were two men named Klaus. Big Klaus, an old man who was very strong and pretty rich considering that he herded cattle, and Little Klaus, a weak and poor younger man who did still have a big brain on him. However, because he was poor, he'd frequently have to ask Big Klaus if he could borrow some of his cattle. Big Klaus obliged so long as he, one, paid him, and two, never claimed that Big Klaus's cattle was actually his cattle. He paid him, but he didn't take the second rule so seriously, something that would eventually be his undoing. He warned him many times to never claim that it was actually his cattle, and one day, Big Klaus just couldn't take it anymore. "Oh, I love you, cattle! Oh, you are so adorable! Hey! You are in big trouble now! What did I tell you?" Big Klaus, very mad, went to his house, grabbed his axe, ran to Little Klaus's personal cattle, brought the axe up, and brought it down, decapitating it. Little Klaus was able to escape just in time before the same could happen to him. He returned to his house later that night, knowing that the Big Klaus would be asleep by the time he returned. He wanted to leave the village and get away from everything. However, he'd need some money. So, he decided that he'd skin the cattle, his cattle, obviously, put everything in a bag, and try to sell it in town. If it could get him even just a few coins, it'd be worth it. At one point, when he was traveling into town, it got dark. He saw an inn, knocked on the door. A lady opened it. "What do you want?" I'm sorry, it's cold and it's dark out. I was wondering if I could sleep here for the night." He looked inside and he saw a nicely set table with fine wine, bread, and meat, and a somewhat handsome young man. "There is no room in here. Leave!" She slammed the door on him, and Little Klaus had to sleep in the barn that, thankfully, was next door. The next morning, a farmer walked up the ladder and saw Little Klaus, asking him, "Hey! What are you doing in there?" I am sorry, I needed somewhere to sleep. I'll leave immediately." "Nonsense! You come in, my wife will make you something good." Wife? Oh. Then they walked into the house, and Little Klaus knew exactly what he was going to do. He had noticed that there wasn't any wine or bread or meat like from the night before. And when the man asked him, "What's in the bag?" he said, "Well, you see, sir, it's a wizard. It can grant me any wish, such as the fine wine that's in the cupboard over there." The man got up and opened the cupboard, and sure enough, there it was. And then he claimed, "I believe the devil himself is in that crate. Best go check." The man walked up to the crate, opened it, and yelped, screamed back in terror, seeing the man from the night before. But of course, he thought it was the devil himself. So he closed the lid, and chained it up, and asked Little Klaus if he could take this sack and have Little Klaus dump the crate in the river. Little Klaus agreed so long as he paid him. In exchange, the man gave Little Klaus a nice big bag of gold. Eventually, when Little Klaus got to the river with the crate, the man inside asked if he could spare his life, and in return, give him a nice big bag of gold. Little Klaus agreed, let the man out. They both walked to the man's house. The man gave little Klaus a nice big bag of gold, and immediately Klaus was a very, very rich man. He went back home, and out came Big Klaus. Where did you get all that money? And in one night? Well, you see, I had to go for a little swim at the bottom of the lake. Of course, it was hard. I had to tie some bricks to my feet, and, well, wouldn't you know it, I was able to find a vast amount of gold. Big Klaus was strong and rich, but he wasn't the smartest, so he believed this instantly. He prepared his cart, gathered up his cattle, put some bricks on it, and then went right into town, where he could find the nearest river. When he got to the river, he immediately tied the bricks to his ankles, and went right in. Splash! He never came back up. And really, it's his own fault. He never stopped for 1 second just to think that maybe little Klaus was lying. And here we see that while bronze definitely does have its, usefulness, it's brains that usually rules. Thank you.